Hello, today I'm coming to you from my kitchen and we are going to be talking about leavening with steam. And in order to do that, we're going to make a recipe called a popover pancake. And so I'm going to make the pancake first. We're also going to make an apple topping that's going to go on the top of it, just to give it some flavor, make it taste good. And so we have something to do while it's baking in the oven. Now, when we're talking about leavening with steam, right before we had spring break, we talked about leavening with chemicals and leavening with yeast. This is different. We need to keep the oven door closed the entire time that our recipe is in the oven, because what's happening is our temperature is really, really hot in there. It's like at 425 degrees. And because we're making a batter, which is a liquid type thing with our pancake, that is gonna give us some moisture, and that moisture is gonna turn into steam. That steam is what helps make our pancake do wild and crazy things, okay? So I'm gonna start off by making the pancake. Here we go, super easy. I have my pie plate right here. I'm going to take and put 2 tablespoons of butter in my pie plate. So I have that cut up and ready to go. By the way, I've already washed my hands, so we're good. And then I'm gonna put that in my pie plate. I'm gonna put that inside the oven because I need it to melt. Now I need to pay attention to it because I don't want it to melt so much that it burns. So I'm gonna put it in and I'm gonna keep checking. All right, so we're gonna let that melt a little bit in the oven. In the meantime, I'm gonna make my pancake batter, okay? So my ingredients are pretty simple. It's a half a cup of flour, half a cup of milk, and 2 eggs. So flour first. I'm gonna make sure I'm using my good measuring techniques. So I've got my spoon and my butter knife here so I can level. I'm gonna take and measure that half a cup of flour, put it in my measuring cup, fill it a little bit too full, take the flat side of my knife, scrape that off, put it in my bowl, okay? Now, done with the flour, I also need a half a cup of milk. So remember, need a different kind of measuring cup for that. I need to have my liquid measuring cup. So there it is, half a cup of milk. Measure that. Don't forget to do your exercises while you're measuring. Boom, half a cup, perfect. Okay, got that ready to go. I'm gonna put that in with my flour. And then I'm gonna crack 2 eggs. I'm gonna crack them into my prep bowl here so that I can make sure I don't get any shells in there. Okay. So 1 at a time, plop. And 1 more. Okay. Now I just touched raw egg, so I'm going to wash my hands really quickly. Do that. Now, please don't mind the fact that I need to do dishes. I've been cooking a lot because guess what? We're stuck at home. So lots of yummy things coming out of my kitchen. So don't mind the mess of the dishes that I need to put into the dishwasher. That's my next job after this. All right. Now, I'm gonna take my whisk and I'm gonna stir up my batter. Now, I wanna make sure that I'm not over stirring it. I still want it to be lumpy, but we're gonna make sure that everything is wet. So I don't wanna have any pockets of dry stuff down at the bottom. All right, perfect. Okay, that's good. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna check my bowl, make sure I don't see any dry spots. Oh, there's one right there. Get that stirred in. And then we're good. All right. Now I'm gonna check my butter because hopefully it's melted in the time that we got that done. Check. Oh, not quite. We're gonna give that just another second to do its thing. Now, what I'm going to do while that's cooking in the oven is I'm going to make an apple topping, okay? So what I need to do to get that done is I'm gonna take my apples, which I have here, already washed them up, okay? I'm gonna take my cutting board. We'll keep peeking on our butter here. Still doing its thing, that's fine. I'm then going to take a knife and I'm going to cut up my apples here. So we are going to saute these on top of the stove. So I'm just going to start off by cutting it into quarters like this. Got a couple bruises on my apples, so I'm going to cut those out. Put those off to the side. Don't really want a bruised apple to eat. Okay, cut out the core like so. And then I'm going to dice this up into small pieces. So if you remember from our knife cutting skills, dicing means that I'm going to cut it into small squares. All right, I see another little bruise on this apple, so I am gonna cut that off. Now you could use an apple wedger if you have one of those. I do have one, but I just didn't get it out, which is fine. Okay, cut that bruise off. Perfect. Almost got it. So I'm using 2 apples. You could use an apple and a half if you want. If you just wanted 1 apple, that works too. I had 2, so I thought, hey, what the heck, I'll use 2. All right, 2 more. Then then we're gonna check on our butter, because I bet you it's pretty well done. All right, ta-da. All right, we're gonna check on our butter that's in the oven. Hey, it's pretty well melted. I'm gonna use my pot holders, and I'm gonna take it out. Help it finish melting a little bit. It's okay if it's not 100% melted, because I would rather it still have a little bit to go rather than it be burnt, okay? At this point, I'm gonna take my rubber scraper, I'm gonna take my dough, and I am going to put that into my pan. Make sure I scrape it all out, because I wanna use all of it, like so. All right. And then I'm gonna put it back into the oven. Now, if you remember what I said earlier, we wanna make sure that the oven stays shut while it's baking. So put that in, shut the door. I'm gonna set my timer for about 20 minutes. And then I'll check it in a little bit. Now, while it's baking, it's gonna puff up and kind of get big, and it's gonna be really weird shaped. Every pancake's gonna be a little bit different. So if you're gonna try this recipe at home, it's super easy, not very many ingredients. You will probably get a very different shape than the one that I'm gonna get. And that's okay. So we're gonna leave that. I wish my oven light works so you could watch it do its thing, but that's okay. You'll see it at the end. Okay, now I'm gonna come back to my apples. So I'm gonna look at my recipe here. I'm going to then cut up my apple into small pieces, okay? I'm gonna just remove my scraps here. And I'm gonna take this apple and I'm gonna cut kind of each quarter into smaller pieces. And then I'm gonna just dice it up. Remembering my bear claw, I'm gonna actually just take this measuring cup out as I fling apples. See, it's just like being at school. I do the same thing there as I do at home. All right, I'm gonna cut this up. Again, I'm dicing. I don't want to have really large chunks of apple, because if I do, then it's not going to cook very well. And we're going to cook this on the stove and have it turn into something really nice and soft. We're going to add some butter in there. We're going to add some brown sugar. It's going to be super yummy. It'll be a great topping to our pancake. Got 4 more chunks of apple to go. This one's a little bit bigger, so I might be able to get like 4 pieces out of that. Make sure you cut all the way through to the skin, so you're getting your pieces into good chunks. I wish I was one of those super fast chefs that could kind of just like do and get it done, but that's okay. I am not. It's all good. All right. One last chunk. Here we go. All right. TD, apple is cut up. So I'm going to look at my recipe here. It says that I'm now supposed to put the apples in a saute pan. Now, if you remember, I have my saute pan out and ready to go. Here are my other ingredients that I need for this. I need some butter, some cinnamon, and some brown sugar, okay? And I forgot to get my measuring tools out. So I'm gonna need to get a 1/4 teaspoon and a tablespoon. So I'm gonna go over to my measuring tool drawer here. What did I say again? A 1/4 teaspoon and a tablespoon. Okay, here's my tablespoon. And my 1/4 teaspoon should be right on here as well. Let's peek, there it is. And then I have the right measuring tools that I need for my job. All right, now I'm gonna come back over here. Here's my saute pan. Remember that the saute pan has an accent over the E, so my pan here has the angled side, okay? I'm gonna take and I'm gonna put my apples inside my pan. Now I used a lot of apple. I suppose I could have found a larger saute pan, but this will be just fine. All right, got our apple in there. All right, then we are going to add some butter. So a tablespoon of butter, which I already have cut up. I'm gonna put that in. And that will melt. And then I'm going to add in a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Okay, so remember when we're measuring our brown sugar, we want to make sure that we pack it. Okay, so there we go. Get that good and packed in there. Okay, I'm still going to go ahead and use my leveling tool here. Got that in there nice and good. Put that in our pan. Remember, we want it to look like we're making a sandcastle. That's how we know we measured well. All right, and then we also need a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. So here's my cinnamon. Oh, hey, I have a brand new one. We'll open that up. And then we'll put a 1/4 teaspoon of that in there. So I'll just dip that in and measure, tap it off a little bit, stick it in. All right, now I'm ready to turn it on the stove top, and I'm gonna put it on medium heat. All right, I have a gas stove, so that's a little bit different than what we have at school. Personally, I think it cooks a little better, but you know, that's just me. I'm gonna grab a clean rubber scraper so that I can get this on here. Now, I want this to simmer, so the butter's gonna melt and it's gonna simmer a little bit. Once it starts simmering, then I'm going to turn down the heat and I'm just gonna kind of let it sit there for a little bit. In the meantime, our pancake is doing its thing in the oven. Remember, I'm not opening the door because I don't want any of that steam to escape, or else my pancake is not gonna puff up, okay? And that's what we're trying to get done. So we'll let this kind of melt, get simmery. Let it do its thing. Maybe some of you have made like some cooked apples before at home. We don't want them to get super soft that they're squishy, but we do want to take away some of the crispness to them, so they get a little bit soft before we put it up on top of our pancake. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit. Not sure where the butter ended up, but there it is. Okay, let's see if it's melting. It is. Oh, can you hear it sizzle? It's starting to get to the point of simmering. So we'll let it do its thing. Then we're just gonna kind of let it sit here and cook while our pancake is cooking. You can hear that nice and sizzly in there. That's good, that's what we want. Our brown sugar that we put in there is dissolving in the butter mixture. We'll get these nice and soft. So we got to turn it up to get the butter hot, to get the butter melted, and then we want to turn it down low so that it kind of can just sit and cook slowly and do its thing. I think we've got it simmering now, if you can hear it. We also want to make sure that the butter does not get burnt. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it down to low. And we're going to kind of just let it sit there, do its thing. We'll stir it every so often. And then we're just going to sit and wait the extra 10 minutes we have for our pancake. So we'll come right back. All right, we're back. The buzzer is gonna go off on my timer any second, and I'm ready to peek at my pancake. So I'm gonna put my pot holders on. My apples are good and ready. They're nice and soft. They've been simmering here for a little bit. You can still hear them sizzling. Turn off the timer. Let's peek at what we got inside the oven. Ooh, it's perfect. Okay, do you see how that's coming out? Look at how that popped up. It's even puffier there in the middle. We're gonna take it, put it on my cooling rack for a second. That came out just right. So the steam is what caused that pancake to kind of rise and make it come up over the sides, made the middle kind of bubble in there as well. So keeping that oven door closed is extremely important. Now, one more thing to do. I'm gonna turn off the stove with my apples. I'm gonna take my apples here. I'm gonna put those on the top of my pancake. Oh, that looks yummy. I wish there was smell-o-vision. It smells so good in here. And then I'm gonna take my pizza cutter and I'm gonna cut that up and serve it for lunch. This is my lunch today. So, there you have it. Leavening with steam. If you want to make this recipe at home, you can. I will post it on Schoology for you. Maybe you can make breakfast or lunch or dinner for your family. But I hope you're doing good. I miss you. And I'm going to go enjoy my lunch. See you later.